Alright, so making a lather and a basic shave tutorial. Just got out of the shower, kind of softens everything up, and use a face wash to get any oils and old product off. I use this Dr. Squatch one, but you can use really anything. This company, CeraVe, they have a daily uh, moisturizing face wash. That's a good one. You don't want to get anything that's too hard, like an exfol. If you get an exfoliating, you only do that, like once or twice a week. So your daily wash is needs to be something a little bit more gentle. But yeah, let's dive right in. I'm gonna go ahead and use some of this toner. It just balances the pH on your face and gets any leftover gunk, any residuals. And because we've stripped all the oils off our face, we're gonna, at the end, you're gonna want to moisturize. If these are things that you're not already doing, shaving can be as simple as just slap the lather on and go. That's fine. But if you're having issues with if you're here because you're having issues with irritation, and things like that, just in general skincare, like daily face wash, using toners, daily moisturizing, those are things that are all gonna like help the condition of your skin and irritation in general. All right, so gonna let that dry for a moment. Go ahead and wet the brush. Got a synthetic 20 millimeter knot from Fine Accoutrements. And later, this is going to be more like a quick tutorial. I'll eventually go into different knots like, boar, badger, synthetic, and with synthetic, you don't really need as much soap as you would with the badger or boar, and I'll explain that more later. But I don't want to get too into the weeds about stuff right now. I just want it to kind of be simple. And if anyone that watched the short, I do apologize. It's taken so long in between videos. I'm new to this, so I kind of had to improvise some things and figure out, things will improve as I learn more about this and get things dialed in. So just hang in there with me. So we got the brush a little moist. You just basically just run it in the water and shake it out. You don't want it dripping wet, but you don't want it really dry. You want it, nice and moist. My skin has been it's winter. It's been pretty cold and dry. So my skin has kind of been a little bit touchy lately. I'm going to be using the Sella Extra Organic Aloe Vera. So you're just going to take your brush. Don't jam. It's called like splaying the bristles. Like when you do that, you don't need to do that. You just push it up against and start quickly, and just the motion, it's gonna start pulling the soap into the brush, and you do this. Like I said, with synthetic, you don't need as much. But if you're new to this, just load heavy. It's, soap is cheap, and it's a lot easier to figure things out in the beginning with more soap than less. A good rule of thumb is usually about like 30 seconds. I haven't even been counting. I'm not sure how long it's been. But I'm loading a little heavy for this just because. So yeah, it's okay to have a lot of soap. It's not going to hurt anything. You're gonna want a thick, creamy paste in the tips of your bristles. You can see that. We'll give it a couple more just for good measure. And if you want, on these harder soaps, and again, we'll get into more of this later. I don't want to get too into the weeds. But you can kind of hold the bristles. If your brush is cheaper and doesn't have a very good backbone, and you find that it's flopping around, you can kind of hold the brush with your fingers like that and get in there, and that's going to be a little bit more aggressive and pick up some more soap. Okay, so that should be plenty of soap. Set that off to the side. I usually just set it off to the side with the lid off for a little bit, an hour or two, let it dry, and then throw the lid back on. There'll be a little bit of suds on top, but they dry up and it doesn't affect anything. Oh, I almost forgot. This is optional, but pre-shave oil. It's really good to have, even if you don't. This is like beard and pre-shave. It doesn't have to be labeled pre-shave oil, just beard oil. I don't have a beard, but this stuff is really good for pre-shave. It's also really good leave-in hair conditioner, and I'll show you real quick. It was the Holy Black. I read that on the back of their bottle to use it as a hair conditioner, and then I've used it with all beard oils since, and it's really, so just a couple splash drips. You really don't need very much with beard oil. A little goes a long way. So I'm just gonna throw some in. This is the Detonate. It smells it's inspired by Spice Bomb by Victor and Wolf. Very, very, very. I love this stuff. It's great. But yeah, you can see my hair already has a nice little luster and shine to it. I had just gotten out of the shower and it was pretty dry. But anyways, back to shaving. Another drop or two. And we'll just let that do its thing. Stuff smells great. Well, we get back to our brush. So we've got our brush loaded. And then just a little bit of water. Just barely turn this, just get it running like that. Couple drips. And I've got, how well you can see that, but it's just a little bit, just a couple drops basically. And then we'll start swirling around. And again, you don't need to be pressing, jamming it into the bowl. Just let the tips do their thing. I like to take it and scrape it along the side. And for me, there's two different motions that when you're making the lather that I consider there to be, which is like whipping and mixing it, and then like you'll be folding like batter or like a dough. So I'm gonna add a little bit more water. A little bit. And just keep It's gonna start to, at first, it's gonna be kind of like bubbly. But you want to keep going. Collect everything on the side, kind of scrape it back down into the bowl. And then this is where I like to fold. So kind of just, especially do the folding when you add water, kind of fold everything back in on itself. Go back to mixing. Add a little bit more water. Again, just kind of fold it in to the lather that you already have there. Start whipping. You can splay it like once or twice, like a quick little, but you don't want to sit there with your brush jammed into it. That's how you mess up the tips and start to lose hairs, and don't do that. So this is starting to look pretty good. And the thing with building your own lather is it's customizable. So if you want it, more thick and on the dry side, you can do that. If you want to keep adding water and you want it more, sudsy, then you can do that too. With stuff that comes in a can, you're just kind of like stuck with what's in there. Okay. And so it's hard to see. I'll have to just kind of explain. I mean, but you're looking for microscopic bubbles, and then a shine. So it's like gloss, gloss versus matte. If you with like paint, if you don't know what that is, it's shiny versus dull. So when you first start mixing your lather, it's going to look dull, flat, and that is underhydrated. You want it to look wet and slick and shiny. The the little peaks, you want them to be able to like stand on their own, not flop over, but also not like like it's kind of hard to explain. Like I said, I'm getting into the weeds here. I want to keep it simple. But as of right now, this lather that I have, it's nice and shiny. So we're going to see how this does. I could probably add a little bit more water, but we're going to stick with this. When I was cartridge shaving, I'd add quite a bit of water. I'd like wet my face before I shaved. And I still do, but with the pre-shave oil and with the lather, if you're building it in a bowl, you already have it kind of where you want it, and then if you apply it to your face that already has a bunch of water added to the lather that you just made, it's going to mess up it's going to mess up your lather, and it's going to start getting runny, or it's not going to be where you want it. So just a small amount of water. If you're face lathering, that's a little different. Again, I will do a video on that another time, but not right now. And we want just little circular motions. This will help exfoliate as you apply the lather instead of like painting. Sometimes you do need to, like, in certain areas, you are going to need to paint, but the benefit of the brush is, you know, how good it feels. Like this synthetic angel hair brush, um, it's very relaxing and massaging, you know. That's one of the appealing things about this. And this lather, I purposely didn't. I kind of stopped with the water because I wanted to apply it while it was still a little dry to show you that even when the lather seems like where you want it in the beginning, it's always good to just keep adding water. If you waste some soap, if you add too much and you have to start over, oh well, it's fine. It's gonna last you months, months and months, and depending on what you get, it's gonna be like $10 to $20. But we've got a coat of lather applied here, and it's, if you can see the lines, see all those lines. That's it's too thick and chalky. It's close, but it's not really where I want it to be. I mean, I could technically shave with this, but my skin afterwards, it would probably feel really dry. Um, and I might have to be a little bit more careful shaving. So, if you find yourself, if you've applied your lather and you need to fix it and hydrate it a little bit more, some people, you'll see them just take the brush and dip it back under the sink. You can do that. I like to I have like a little coffee cup or another bowl, and I just take my brush and you just take the dip and just kind of dip the tips in just a little bit, get a little bit of water on there. And then start going over what you've already got on your face. And you'll also feel that when the lather is too dry, if you start shaving the other side of your face, the lather will start to disappear or like cake up. It doesn't. You'll like feel your skin kind of starting to dry out. So add some more water down here. It's starting to look pretty moist. I personally like my lather pretty wet. When I give people recommend it, like people that are struggling, and I've like been able to identify that their lather is too dry. I tell people that to like make your lather as wet as it can be before it's like dripping wet. Just do practice lathers. Keep messing around, try lathers where you add more, add a little bit of water at a time and just keep messing with it and whipping it around. Play with it and just see what it can really do. Because if you are new to this and you just start shaving and you make a lather just when you shave, and you've shaved, it's a week later, you've only made like 4 or 5 lathers, you're gonna be frustrated, most likely, unless you've like got it down immediately. That the lather may have been too dry, not enough lubrication, and a weekend, you may have ingrown hairs or irritation and be like, I thought this was supposed to make things better, and it's not. Um, so it's important to, get the lather down. And if you have a can of like, if it's frustrating you and you like, go back to your can for a day or two, and come back to doing a lather, like it's fine. This stuff's not going anywhere. All right. One more quick little pass here. It's actually pretty wet. So I'm going to go back to my bowl. And kind of reapply, get a little bit thicker on that spot that I just got some water on, touch it up real quick. All right. Okay, so I just got a vintage Fat Boy. I haven't been able to test it out yet because I had been waiting. Let's see what this thing can do. Has a setting of 1 to 9. This is the 19. Which one is this? I got two of them actually. This one. Where's the code? 1960. So that's kind of cool. All right. So you're gonna want about a 30-degree angle, and important to let the weight of the razor do the work. With cartridges, you generally, just kind of jam it into your face and go to town, these like long, aggressive strokes. You want the opposite of that when you're shaving with a double-edged safety razor. You want short, controlled strokes, 30-degree angle, and you're letting the weight of the razor, you're not applying pressure. So I'm gonna move the camera real quick up to the corner where you can get a better view, and we'll start. All right. So first pass, I'm gonna go with the grain and see how the lather, see how it's running down. That's another thing that I was talking about with the water in your lather. With cartridges, you may be used to rinsing them and getting them really wet, and you do want to get, you don't want to just stick a dry razor straight to your face. But you also don't want an excess amount that starts running everywhere and ruins your lather. So just short little strokes. And don't worry about, because we're going to do another pass. There's little spots that aren't perfect. That's okay. With a cartridge, you might usually just do the one pass because the way they're designed, that's the way they're designed. But they cause issues with irritation. With a single edge, you're generally going to need like at least 2 passes to get a similar shave. But once you get your technique down, it's really, you can shave pretty fast. I could be just about done by now, but I'm sitting here messing around talking, so anyway. Had this set to medium because 1 through 9 I had it set to 5, and so far it's a great shave. Yeah, I really like this razor. This is the first time I've used it. I kind of go across the grain along my neck. And this area is where I usually do like the J hooking, which I'll show you. Up here is where I do like blade buffing. Again, I'll show and explain that on the second pass. Got a little spot up there, I need to be careful. Make sure, you pull your skin nice and taut and tight so you don't cut yourself in those areas, like around your neck and where there's curves, because there's no pivoting head. If you've been used to a cartridge razor your whole life, you're used to being able to maybe navigate those areas a little easier. You need to take that into one of the things to take into consideration. That's why you do smaller, shorter strokes instead of the long ones with a cartridge, so you have more control. Alright, I think that's good for the first pass. I'm going to clean up real quick. I'm going to make you watch me do that, and then be right back for the second pass. Alright, just rinsed up my face real quick and blotted it with a towel. Still pretty moist. So, grab our handy dandy bowl and brush. Grab another glob of lather. And see, there was plenty of lather in the brush too. You don't get tricked into thinking that you need a giant bolt like full of lather, unless you got a giant beard. Maybe might need a little bit more, but in the actual brush there's going to be a lot of soap, or a lot of lather, I mean. Alright. I think that looks good. Got a nice even coat everywhere. Got paint to touch up the spots real quick. So that was the Fat Boy. With the first pass that was with the grain. On the second pass, I'm going to use my Henson. It's loaded with a feather. Which are really sharp. The Henson AL13. And this is going to be across the grain. So not against, not with, but across. Henson is a really great razor for beginners because of the plate. It's engineered with a 30-degree. Earlier I said you want a 30-degree angle. Well, with a typical razor, you have to kind of do the yourself to find the correct cutting angle. But it's like riding a bike once you have it down. I mean, but with a Henson, it's already kind of like engineered into the head. Their tolerances are, it's a really, really nice piece of equipment. They were aerospace manufacturers for like 20 years before they started making razors. So they've been working with tolerances in the thousandths of an inch for over 20 years. Again, just a little across, short little, make sure your skin is, nice and tight in these areas so you don't get yourself cut up or razor burn. So I'm going to show you blade buffing real quick. So I always have problems right in this area with getting a close shave. So blade buffing, make sure that it lathered up. And you're just gonna kind of very lightly, with no pressure, just kind of quickly, like you're rubbing, basically, buffing the spot where you've got the, and you're gonna real at different angles, just real quick, a couple of times in each direction, just hit it, and it should clean up that spot. Here, I'll do it here. You could probably even hear the feedback. When I first started, you might have heard the razor cutting. And then those last few passes, it kind of got pretty quiet. So, I feel confident that that spot's good. Same thing, I'm gonna buff that spot real quick. And because I'm using the feather, this is that unforgiving blade. It will give you razor burn. It is very sharp. It will give you razor burn really easily. So I'm gonna make sure that everything's lathered and hydrated as I'm finishing my shave. If you're taking too long, like, sitting there talking, making a YouTube video, your lather may you may notice that it will start to dry out, so you have to kind of put some water in there again. But we were gonna blade buff that little spot. Yeah, it was good. And so these areas are where I like to do J-hooking down down along my neck and up into the chin line. Like in this area is where I find J hooking. And J hooking is, I mean, it's exactly what it sounds like a J. So we're going to, like on my neck, I'm going to come in and then kind of sweep while I'm still in contact with the skin. I'm going to sweep up, like pivot up like that to make like a J. It's a really good way to clean up tight, hard to reach areas. See, so I'm like coming across and just up a little bit. And the J hooking might be, you know, a little advanced right now. That's okay. You don't need to start J hooking on day one. Give it a while. I'm just showing you some techniques so that you know that there are solutions to some of the issues that you may be finding early on as a beginner. You may have some problem spots where you're, you know, you can't figure out how to get it and you without causing too much irritation. And it is frustrating because you want this to work. So if you find yourself in that position where you're getting frustrated, it's okay, it's understandable. But it is once you get the hang of certain things, it really is. You'll be able to pick up any razor. And get the job done with it. But as I was gonna say, as you every shave, your technique will improve. You'll find yourself getting faster. You'll the problem areas that you have, you'll be able to and the next time you shave, you'll be able to kind of focus on those problem areas. And just over time, your shave will improve. You'll get better. Don't get frustrated and discouraged the first, you know, week or so where you're not getting a super clean, close shave. Don't expect a baby butt smooth shave right from the get-go. I was talking a little bit too much and let that kind of dry. I didn't really get that spot very good, so I'm going to hit up my neck again right there real quick. Everywhere else is pretty much done. We're pretty much finished. Alright, I'm all done. So, to finish up, just go ahead and clean up. So usually I just did 2 passes. This is already a pretty long video. And I wanted it to be simple. It's already gone a lot longer than I wanted it to, but that's okay. 2 passes should be what you should aim for in the beginning, with the grain and across the grain. And then, like I said, as your techniques improve and you get better and you find yourself being more confident, you can add that 3rd pass against the grain. And any remaining problem areas that you may have, you'll find that will most likely resolve them. So I'm just double checking I didn't miss any spots, but feels good. And the leave-in conditioner doing its job. So apply, now that the shave is done, you're going to need to use an alum stick. It's a simple toner. It's like just a chunk of alum salt. And this will also provide feedback for, it's going to sting basically. It's an antiseptic and a toner. So anywhere that your technique was poor or that you could have improved on, let's just say that, you'll kind of feel a sting. You know, those are the areas where your skin is a little bit more, like I just kind of got my right here. It's kind of stinging a little bit. Not too bad, but I probably wasn't really paying close enough attention with the feather and let things get dry. So apply the alum salt, and then some people leave it on. I like to let it dry, clean it. You just dry it off with a towel. Put the cap back on. They come in all different kinds. Some of them come in bigger chunks, like a deodorant stick, but it's all the same stuff. I like to rinse it off. And then aftershave splash, and that's basically just like an antiseptic. It'll also kind of provide some feedback, and it feels really good as you improve your technique and you get better with your shaves. You know, those first couple ones, you know, maybe you'll throw a splash on and it'll sting, it'll not feel great. And then a week or 2 or a month in, you'll shave and you'll be like, whoa, that was really fast. And then you'll throw your splash on and it won't burn. And you'll be like, that feels good. And you're like, hell yeah, dude, I'm getting the hang of this. So we've applied the splash, let it, you know, kind of dry. It's alcohol based, so it'll dry pretty quickly. And then use some kind of I like the Sterling balm, but some kind of a moisturizer. It doesn't have to be a shaving, like some fancy shaving balm product either. You can get, I mean, any kind of moisturizer. There's this company, CeraVe, I'm pretty sure that they have different face moisturizers. But it's important to moisturize. Like, we just took a razor and scored, it across our face a bunch of times and splashed alcohol on there, and a little bit goes a long way. Part of that was dried up a little bit, but yeah, I mean, when you just barely use any. And that's it. Sorry the video came so late. It went a little longer than I wanted to, but that's alright. Things will improve. Or, if you have any feedback or comments, requests, anything like that, just, chime in the comments. I don't really, have any followers, so I'm trying, anyone that does comment, I will most likely be interacting directly with. So that's it. I'll see you guys around. Tomorrow I'll probably do some more practice lathers. Use different brush. I've got, badger brushes, boar brush, synthetic brushes, cheap brushes, expensive. We'll just kind of mess around and play with things and see what happens. All right. Thanks for watching.